On the main stage, I will be calling Roberto Priolo, and he will talk about why conversations are so important. Hello, Roberto, back on stage.
Hello, Chris.
Or,
Just
or
waiting for
back on board now.
yeah, back on board. That's right. Just waiting for Catherine. Oh, there she is. Nope, she's gone again. Just give me 1 second. There she is. Hello, Catherine.
Hello, I'm trying to.
Uh, she'll be with us in a second. In the meantime, I can introduce Catherine. Catherine is. I've been working with her on Planet Lean for quite some time, and she's one of my favorite Planet Lean writers. She's written a column for us for 2 3 years, and she is with us today, or trying to be. And Catherine has been a very keen student of Lean, I would say, and she has been working for Forestia for 11 years before joining the Institute Lean France. And she is with us today to talk to us about the importance of having conversations at a time when we're all connecting via remote links and whatnot.
Roberto, can you hear me at least?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Because it looks like I've got an issue with my camera.
We can hear you fine.
My camera worked on the test phase, so I suggest we go. You will not see me, but that's not the point. You will hear me.
whenever you want, we can all hear you.
Okay, then let's get started. Welcome and hello to all of you. Roberto introduced the subject. I wanted to talk about conversations. So you may wonder what I have in mind, but let's try and discuss first what is the future of our work. We have really strange things happening to us. We've seen most of our industry, at least I can talk about Europe, but I guess this is true also for the US, move over to China. We thought that was clever at the time. I'm not sure that was such a great move. But industry went over to China and Asia, generally speaking, and then all our supply chains are totally overstretched. So that creates another situation that is very difficult. Then we had the pandemic, and the pandemic introduced remote work, and we'll discuss it a bit further. But pandemic remote work is possibly bringing some productivity, but it's not so easy to create things and to connect to people when you're doing remote work. So we have a lot of things happening to us. We have the silo bureaucracy that is expanding. It is true in large corporations. It's also true in small scale business. The moment you start hiring a chief of operations or a chief financial officer, you're doomed, because they have to practice their expertise and develop their expertise within their own silo, functional silo. And they stop talking to each other and they start developing their own domain. So the future of work is not so easy. Let's discuss a bit further. What we see more and more, because of the crisis also, but also because of the growth, we focus on the do. We focus on the execution. When you are growing fast, it's quite normal, you would say, because you have so much to do that you have to just produce and deliver. But we are no longer, and when we are in crisis, very often we have the same issue as well, because the supply chain are super stretched. And we have plenty issues, and components are not coming in, and materials are increasing, and energy is tripling in cost, and so on. So we're very much into the do, we're locked into execution, and we don't find time to do exploration. So I don't suppose I'm surprising you with all this. This is not new. The pandemic increased a bit the issue with the working from home, because it's you can work from home very efficiently. You don't have to travel to the office. Then you're by yourself, you don't have surrounding noise, so you can concentrate on your job. But it's not so good to build trust. It's not so good to connect to people. It's not so good to generate a flow of ideas, like, oh, I've got this idea, yes, but you could do it that way, and build together something. The 4.0 industry is also very interesting. Of course, it's obvious we need to automate. We cannot miss that. But when you automate, you risk losing the human ability to see problems and solve problems. So we are locked more and more into the execution, and we don't do enough exploration. And actually, our bosses don't let us do explorations. So why am I talking about this? Is there a solution? Yes, this is the reason why I'm here. I believe the TPS, the Toyota Production System, or the lean system, the lean learning system, is the solution. Because the TPS, oh yes, by the way, when you are working, sorry, I forgot that one. When you are working in silos, you end up going through we are the good ones and they are the bad ones. By the way, Adam Kahane wrote a very interesting book about collaborating with the enemy, and he says we tend sometimes to enemify other functions, like the head office versus us, or finance versus us, or people in operations versus purchasing, for example. So the they versus us is also an issue in that the flows of materials and products is not going to be too good when you are enemies across a border. So why I'm saying that TPS is the solution is that it's actually full of opportunities to stop and talk. The customer satisfaction, for one, obvious grievances, claims, customer claims is an opportunity, of course, to talk if we're serious about doing our job. But we also have the just-in-time telling us we're late, telling us we're missing parts. Let's stop, let's discuss, let's try and find help. You have the Aijunka, the leveling part. This is when you start saying, hey guys, I can't keep the pace. You're putting too much on my desk or on my lap. Are you sure you've leveled the production effort? Or you have questions or opportunities like Kaizen, pure Kaizen. We just can't go on like this. We have to do something about it. More practically, my tool does not work. My system does not work. For example, right now, my camera doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? It was working in the test environment. I've been waiting for 15 minutes trying to make it work before the presentation started. Doesn't work. This is the kind of conversation where we should stop and help. So I'm not going to go through all those questions, but I'm sure you're very convinced that the TPS is an opportunity to stop and talk. The reason why I'm here, as Roberto said, I've done quite a number of Gemba walks in different companies, services, or industry. And I'm going to go through a number of them because you learn a lot as you discuss with people on the ground in the Gemba. So let's take this example. This is Aramis Auto. Of course, most of the examples I'm going to take are in France. But nevertheless, I'm pretty sure you will recognize situations that you live. Aramis Auto in France is developing very fastly and efficiently, developing online car sales. And part of their job when they sell cars is to provide the documentation, the technical and the paperwork to be able just to drive your car. What they would do in a push flow mode, they had the idea of Kanban and stock of things to do. And they knew that they had to go through step A, B, and C. And they were just in the first stage looking at the number of tasks. And when you look at the total number of tasks you have to do till delivery of the documents, you actually tend to take the easiest ones. because the big ones, the tough ones, the complex ones are worrying you. And of course, the tough ones get stuck in step A or B. They don't move to step C, and you just pick up the new ones coming in and move them to step B and C because it's easier. What they finally did when they adopted pull flow is they started to focus on just what was the need for the day, what was the delivery we were meant to do today or the day tomorrow. And let's get prepared for that delivery and work seriously on each of those deliveries. And what they did in addition is they put names on each of the Kanban. So Kanbans were no longer a stock of tasks. It was people waiting for their car, and some of them late, because you could, when you're looking at a Kanban one by one, you see the lead time. So you see whether John T, for example, is waiting for his car, and then you can address it, and then you can have conversations on which one you need help, or for which one you need support, or for which one you need somebody else to unravel the problem. So this, and by the way, it made people, the customers became people. Customers are actually real persons. And the moment you connect with real persons, it's much easier and it's much more fun. And by the way, customers are real persons, but employees are too. This is another example from postal delivery in France. The postman can deliver your mail, your post, either through a car with a cab or by bike. I guess it's the same in most countries. And the bikes are extremely important for the mailman because this is his tool or her tool, and they're used to it. They have adjusted the height. They know how it breaks. They're familiar with it. In this plant, if you say, or area, this is a very specific area for the mail delivery. They had up to then batched the repairs of the bikes. So they would wait for a full batch of bike to be ready for repair. They would put them into a truck, send them over to an outsourced facility, and wait for the bikes to come back. And the mailmen didn't like it at all because they would lose their bike for something like 7 to sometimes even 30 days. And they had to use a spare bike, usually not very, very nice, not adjusted to their needs, and they didn't like it. So guess what? They rather waited till the bike was on the verge of breaking up before they handed it over for repairs. What this plant decided to do, this service decided to do, they decided to insource the repairs. And instead of batching the number of bikes to be repaired, they were taking them by small batches every day. And they had conversations with the employees. What's going on? Any problems you have? Can you show me where it is, etc. It was amazing. The change was completely different. The bike was away for maximum 48 hours instead of 30 days before. And since they had conversations about the bikes, and since the people didn't wait for the last minute to hand over the bike for repair, the number of accidents due to the bike decreased by 90%, 90%. So the conversation started again and the learning started, because the point of having a conversation with someone else is also to learn. The guy who was in charge of the repairs found many things that were bad or not efficient technical choices, and he referred them back to the technical operations and told them that the choice of the bikes weren't too good in this area or that area, and that was corrected. So the conversations was going both with the main men and both with the technical people to change things on the bikes and improve them. So employees, it's really worth having conversations with them. Why do we do that? Why do we want to have TPS conversations with Kanban, with customer claims, with support and Jidoka or tools not working? Because we learn. This is my own experience in Forcia. I was part of Forcia and I was a COMEX member of the IS department, the global IS department. At that time, we were developing very fast, and they still are. And we had about 600 IT people in the whole world. We had people in China, in Tunisia, in Morocco, in Mexico, in France, in Germany, we were in US, wherever. And we decided we would stop and fix problems the moment they were hurting the plants. You can see a plant here, an assembly plant. We were assembling, for example, seats for cars. The moment one of our IT system would stop the plant for more than 30 minutes, which is large, but still there were a lot of plants and a lot of systems. But we started with this rule. Every time we stopped the plant for more than 30 minutes, we would do a full problem solving. And some people from the COMEX, some of my colleagues at the COMEX of the IT department told me, this is ridiculous. You're forcing people into problem solving and the problems are never going to be the same ever. And they were right, of course, because a problem is a combination of multiple factors. So it's very, very seldom that you get exactly the same problem twice. But what was absolutely great with this problem solving is we would put together in remote sessions, because people were either in China or France or Germany and so on, and we would discuss the problem, and people would learn who was in charge of what, to whom they should talk to next time, how system interacted, what happened to this database when they were trying to change something on that interface. The learning was amazing. And actually the whole point of the problem solving was not to solve problems, but to learn and meet and connect to people. The fact that you are connecting to people and you are spreading ideas, one of the important things in the exploration, and you all know that, is not only to have one idea somewhere, but to sort of feed the flow of ideas so that people can jump on it and say, oh, wow, yes, why not? I wouldn't do it exactly that way, but maybe if I change something, I can improve on it and do it my own way. This is an example in train maintenance. This is a group of people that were maintaining the huge trains that we have, the fast trains that we have in France. And one of the teams, instead of, before, what they would do is the train would come in and then they would go and collect the fluids, the tools, etc., and they would put it in a cart, bring it to the train and start the repair. And then they started thinking in terms of SMED, and then they thought, this is not the most efficient way. So why don't we try and prepare the cart in advance, collect all the tools and the fluids, and have a sort of ready to use, ready to maintain cart. The others thought that was such a great idea that all the teams started doing the same, electricians and so on. So actually those conversations can feed the flow of ideas within the company. One important point, this is Japan, by the way, this is a supplier to Toyota. And those people are doing grinding and machining for parts. It's not important which part they are grinding and machining because the parts are changing, the products change very quickly. So their job is to give a service of machining and grinding. And what they are doing, they are spending a lot of time on Kaizen on the one hand and Jidoka on the other hand. And what they call Jidoka here is the automated upload or download, and particularly the download. The fact that they are managing the download of the machines well, automated downloading, allows them to have only one operator instead of one operator for 5 machines instead of 1 for 1. And they're targeting to have 1 for 10. So you say you can say, okay, they're going to get rid of people. No, the people that are taking out, just standing over checking machines. They are taking them out of the line, and they are asking them to do more Kaizen and more Jidoka and more control and more automated control. They are teaching them to do IoT by themselves, because they do believe that every time they can develop skills, the company wins. So provide time for learning through TPS is so important. This is why we're locked into execution. We don't give time for the exploration. This can lead you to some very interesting things. This is another one. They are doing, as you can see, playgrounds for kids. And as they were discussing with people in sales, people in the assembly, and people in R&D, they discovered that actually sales got a complaint that when they were doing, you can see it on the drawing on the left-hand side, when they were doing complex drawings, and when the lines of the drawings were overlapping, it would create a thickness on the playground, on the board of the playground, and the little kids would hurt themselves on that thickness. So they decided, they came back to R&D and assembly, and they decided to change the layout of their drawing so that no two lines would connect and overlap to avoid hurting kids. So it can improve the service design, and they can build on that to get further bids later on. Another one, this was during the pandemic. This is a company that does trolleys. And during the pandemic, hospitals were in dire need of trolleys because of they needed fluids, they needed the gloves and masks and so on. And he couldn't find transportation to deliver his trolleys. So the CEO actually went to the hospitals, deliver his own trolleys. And he started conversations with the people in the hospital. And the people told them, oh, your trolleys are very nice, no problem. But they take too much space in the corridor. And our stretchers can't move forward when we have one of your trolleys. Can you do them a little narrower? And also you can see it on the presentation, it's wide mesh. You remember during the pandemic, we were all wiping surfaces all the time. Well, to clean wide mesh like this is not easy to do. It's much easier to wipe a plain surface. And he also learned that he didn't need to have stainless steel. Painted steel was quite enough. So he learned plenty, and he immediately went back and redesigned some of his trolleys. So you can see that conversations are so useful for exploration. So my question to you, sorry, I took quite some time because I'd like to have, if we can, some Q&A. My question to you is, where are you heading? Are you building capability with TPS today, or are you actually in the path of outsourcing it? Because the way we do, and particularly I've lived in large corporations for most of my career, the way we usually do in big corporations is we tend to outsource. The first time we have something we don't understand, we tend to outsource it. So are we trying to understand and build, or are we trying to outsource? I'll finish with this one. We see that conversations with the TPS are extremely useful. So as a CEO, if you are a CEO and listening to what I'm saying, you need to go back to the Gemba. You need first to make sure that those conversations take place. You need to give time to the people. And you need to go and check where people stand and where they are hurt. This is a CEO of a digital company, the Theater Group, is visiting projects all the time. And his questions are about, what is the product we're trying to build? What is the value we're trying to provide for the customer questions? And this next set of questions is, where do you hurt? How can we help you? Do you have any problems? Because when he says, my job is to define the strategy for the group. I know where I want to go. I know point B, but I need to go to the Gemba to check where point A is, because we need to go from A to B, and I need to know where the starting point is. So please go back to the Gemba, learn to listen to the customers and the employees, change your mind about which problem should be worked in priority, and frame the conversations of your company with the TPS. By the way, we're writing a book on those visits to the Theodore Group. It's going to be published in January. This is not the final cover, but it will probably look something like this. Remember maybe some of you have heard or read Learning to Scale by Regis Medina. This is now the field book of learning to scale in a digital company. And I hope you will be interested by those stories as much as I was when I visited them. This is what I wanted to say, and I'm sorry because I'm still not able.
Oh no, looks like we we lost Catherine again. Let's see. There she is. Hi, Catherine. Can you hear us?
Sorry for that.
That's okay. We can hear you. Thank you so much. For me, it was a trip down memory lane. I remember each and every one of those stories when you wrote them on Planet Lean. I would really like to urge people to go on Planet Lean and read Catherine's articles because they are wonderful. We have a few minutes for Q&A. There is a very interesting question coming from Edgar. I just put it up on the screen, Catherine. I don't know if you can read it.
Yeah.
So this is currently a very difficult topic. A lot of our work processes are now digitalized. How do we evolve in the digital area as lean professionals?
Okay, I'm not going to answer on all those tools. What you need to do is you need to keep in mind the basic concepts of the TPS and the need to have conversations, to stop and talk. So whether you're using those tools to help your job, where do you sit down and think about, am I delivering the right value for the customer? Am I late or am I not late? Am I delivering good quality? Do I need help? Is my tool working? So work with the tools, automate. Of course, we need to automate. Of course, we need to work with tools. But remember the right questions. Go back to the TPS I showed. Maybe we could show it again. I don't know whether that's possible to come back to those questions of the TPS. These. Ask yourself those questions all the time.
That's right.
Whatever the tool you use.
Very good. Very good. I would like to ask you something, Catherine. So you've been most recently going on Gemba walks at Theodore, so digital company. I'm interested, compared to sort of different Gembas, maybe the other ones that you more, let's say, well, traditional non-digital organizations. Did you find that the agile culture that exists in those organizations somehow supports the conversations that you've been talking about, or do you find the same issues that perhaps are existing in other companies as well?
Well, agile, the Theodore, for example, is still doing agile or equivalent in that they are running sprints and they have to deliver things and so on. But they have had added the questions we're talking about. One example, every week they are actually calling the customer and asking the customer whether he or she is happy with the delivery. In terms of the value provided and in terms of are we on the point, are we doing what you need, are we doing what you expected from us this week? And it's not nice to have to do that. It's very tempting to actually send a questionnaire and get on with it, but you actually have to talk to the customer and listen to the customer, and they're forcing themselves to have the conversation. They're forcing the stop and talk.
That's right.
So this is one example, but they do it when Benoit, the CEO, is doing his Gemba, or any manager in Theodore is doing the Gembas. One of the first questions they ask, let's look at the product. Stop talking about process. Let's look at the product. Where is the product? What is the value? What are your problems? Are we late? Are we doing right? Do we have bugs? Who discovered the bugs? Did the customer discover the bug or us? Etc. So no, it's not so different. Agile helps, but Agile doesn't go as far as we would like with the TPS.
That's great. Thank you so much, Catherine. I see Christopher there, reminding us the
Yeah,
time
I'm
is.
back here.
Thank you very much, Catherine. We couldn't see you, but we could hear you loud and
Yeah,
clear.
sorry for that.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye bye, Catherine. Thank you. Thank you, Priolo.